Yeah? What's up, everybody?
Hey!
Welcome to episode 219 of the F and Marks podcast.
I'm Jay.
I am the brainless one.
As always.
EST 1983.
Yeah.
So, Jay,
So you're the EST.
I am the EST of BRANLESS. I think I spelled it right.
Right.
No, never mind. Well, anyway, we got a very interesting show we're going to get into today. The last couple days, some shit has been going on in regards to WWE that I just am disgusted by, especially because I found out that this isn't just something that's happened. It's not a one-off thing. It's actually been happening
for over a decade.
So we're going to dive into that a little bit. A former WCW superstar has some serious health concerns now. We're going to be talking about that. A former Raw Women's Champion and the baddest woman on the planet, that's spoiler alert, made a huge announcement as well this week. We got the return of Aleister Black last night on SmackDown, so we're going to discuss that. Charlotte Flair is also off TV, and we're going to discuss that as well. And then anything else that is Raw, SmackDown, NXT, AEW, NWA, NGPW, Impact, everything that's wrestling related that has nothing to do with Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling.
Yeah. Absolutely, Chris Brown. Agree 100%. Mark Carano being a WWE employee for all those years, and he gets let go because he was finally called out for apparently the bullshit that's been going on for a very long time.
So should you want to just dive into that real quick since we're already on the subject? So Mickie James earlier this week, I want to say it was Wednesday or Thursday. I didn't know what the practice was in this. So this was actually kind of new to me. Even at 38 years of age, I'm still learning something new every day. So Mickie James got her quote unquote care package, which was all of her wrestling gear that she had left, that WWE had sent to her, and inside the box was her gear and a trash bag written out to her.
Definitely, like, it's a shitty way of signifying that you're a trash bagger and you're not good enough to be in WWE. Now, I understand, when we had our issues with Hampton Roads Championship Wrestling all those years ago. When we called them
garbage bag. I forgot that they busted out the garbage bag.
They busted out the garbage bag after we had called them trash baggers. But, like, Mickie James is for me, she is the top of the Mount Rushmore of women's wrestlers. You call her a fucking trash bagger, it's like, I remember seeing Mark Carano on Total Divas, for a few years, and like, I don't know, he seemed all right, but like, you had a whole bunch of people, not just Mickie James, speaking out about this. Mickie James said that this happened to her when she was released 10 years ago after they had done all that Piggy James bullcrap storyline on TV. But like, Gail Kim said, this happened before I even started at WWE. And just kind of, she said, you know what? This starts with WWE's culture, and it starts at the top.
Well, it was another, couple other people that came out and said it was the same situation were Maria Kanellis, who said that happened to her last year when her and Mike Bennett got released. And Jillian Hall also said that it happened to her about a decade ago.
And Fred Rosser, a.k.a. Darren Young, came out and said more or less Mark Carano, since like after he was released in 2017, just wouldn't stop harassing him about it. And Gail Kim was very frank, just saying, you know what, Mark Carano is not a good person. He's never been a good person, and just absolutely leveled him. But like, I forget if it was Gail Kim or if it was Maria that more or less said that they thought that this was multiple people doing this. This was not just one person. If it was just one person made the scapegoat, I think Gail or Mickie said, you know what? If this is the last thing ever I do in WWE where like she's like, I'm not happy someone got fired, but if no one else ever who gets fired from WWE has to deal with this, I'm cool with that being my last statement in WWE.
Well, she's going in the Hall of Fame.
But I'm just saying, like, she
If
came out, I don't want anybody to get fired.
Moment that she has.
I made the place a better place because I helped get rid of that a-hole who'd been disrespecting all the performers for years.
And I will say this: I give credit to Stephanie McMahon and coming out there and apologizing publicly to Mickie James and everybody that has had that happen to them. That's a very, very, very strong move and for Stephanie McMahon, because it takes a lot to actually step up to the plate and admit that something was wrong and you're going to do everything in your power to make it all right. And I give you credit for that. I would say the same thing for Triple H, except for the fact that I saw in the span of the same time around each other that Triple H and John Laurinaitis had the exact same statement. And it's like, bro, what did you just copy and paste? It's like that. It's like that whole thing. It's like, hey, can I copy your homework? Yeah, just do it so it doesn't look like we copied each other. And then that's exactly what it looked like, because there was only like maybe a 3 or 4 difference in words between what Triple H had posted and what John Laurinaitis had posted.
You know what'll happen if I hand in my homework in your handwriting? I'll get kicked out of school. You wouldn't want me to get kicked out of school now, would you? Would you? Think, McFly.
Hello?
Yeah.
Anybody home? Think, McFly, think. It's a terrible situation that has happened. It really is. And the fact that they treat the wrestlers that way is just, it's disgusting. And I'm sorry. I'm not one of those types that I say, people deserve to get fired. I might say a lot of things, but like deep down inside, I really don't want to see bad things happen to, I'd say 99.99999% of the people in the world. And I don't want to see somebody get fired, but in this situation, he had to go. I'm sorry.
And if there are other people involved with this, they should be taken out too.
And what I thought was interesting was that a lot of the women were the ones that came out and said that this has happened to them. Yes, granted, Darren Young was one of the ones who also said something, but like you don't hear too many guys coming out and saying the same thing. Like, why, did it happen to Zack Ryder? Did it happen to CM Punk? Although CM
Kurt
Punk,
Hawkins.
Did it happen to Curtis Axel? If they did that to Curtis Axel, I swear that would be the worst thing ever. You can't do that to an FMR's Hall of Famer.
The worst.
And speaking
honestly, to be fair, in our Hall of Fame, almost everybody who's in our Hall of Fame has been slighted by WWE.
Curtis Axel will probably get in at some point. If Coco Beware's in, Curtis Axel should be in.
Well, Demolition should be in.
Yeah, I understand that. Yes, and they're in our Hall of Fame. They're in our Hall of Fame.
They are in our Hall of Fame.
We have a much more impressive Hall of Fame than the WWE. Just putting it out there.
Right.
But speaking of WWE Hall of Famers, the Iron Sheik has actually been coming out and going after Mickie James for whatever reason in regards to all this.
Oh.
So like he's been I think it might have something to do with the fact that Stephanie came out and apologized, and Mickie James just came out and kind of sounded like a whiny person after the fact that she actually came out and apologized. And it's like, look, they apologized. I understand there's nothing you can do. What happened. Somebody lost their job. They came out and they apologized. They said, not like this is going to ever happen again. You made a statement, and now you still sound like you're kind of a little petty upset about it. And I get it, but come on.
With that being said, Iron Sheik still needs to be at WrestleMania 38.
Of course, you got to be at WrestleMania 38.
Make that happen. Make sure you write your WWE and say, to right this wrong, make sure the Iron Sheik is at WrestleMania 38, so we could fulfill an inside joke.
And like I said last week on last week's episode, he could co-host WrestleMania with the Hulkster next year. I think that would make for some great television right there.
Right.
What are you going to tell him, brother? Fuck you, Hulk Hogan. That'd be it. All right. Got to get Cheeky out of there.
Right.
Oh, that would be epic. That's like, I want, as much as I want him to be in the ring, him and Hulk Hogan could just host it. I'd be happy.
Right. But but things like this within a big company like WWE, I would like to believe that Vince didn't know about any of this stuff going on, and you know, as Chris stated, like there are probably a whole bunch of people. There are a whole bunch of people between Vince and the performers, and what happens to the performers when they get let go. But you know, again, coming back to culture, it's like if there are certain things that are accepted within the culture of WWE, like maybe this was thought of like, oh, this is like a rib. It's like, how do you're ribbing them by saying they're a trash bagger as they've just been fired. I mean, that's not a rib. That's just being an asshole.
Now, to be fair, when Duke Droese got fired all those years ago, over 20 years now, if they had set his shit in a garbage bag, it would have made sense. Because the garbage man got fired, and here's his trash.
Speaking of the garbage man, Brainless won.
Okay, I'll make that announcement. So a couple weeks ago, when I was on Instagram and I put together the WrestleMania Moments tournament, I had way too much fun doing that. So I've been trying to come up with like another idea for tournament, and I'll tell you right now, it's going to happen more frequently on Instagram because now that I figured out how to do it, because you know the half a brain cell I still have kind of like put together a pretty solid idea for this tournament. I've decided that I'm going to be putting together a tournament once again, but this time for shitty wrestling gimmicks. And this is where it's funny because Jay and I were discussing it before the podcast, and I said, Jay, do you think it's feasible that I could actually get 64 people for a shitbag wrestling gimmick tournament? And he kind of just looked at me like I was crazy. Like, yeah, of course you could get 64 people. You're only going to have 64 shitty gimmicks in there.
Well, it's like you could take 1994 WWF and you could come up with 64 shitty gimmicks.
So, I mean, anybody out there, you know, Chris Brown, this definitely could be right in your wheelhouse.
I mean, obviously with this, there are certain gimmicks that will 100% be there. The Shockmaster is going to be in one of these brackets.
The Repo Man's going to be in one of those brackets.
I mean, personally, I think like somebody like Nails, like the Nails gimmick, terrible.
Yeah.
Like
Kazarni.
You know, so many things like that.
And it's not going to be just exclusively WWE because I really do think that I can get 64. As terrible
easily
as that 64 in WWE, Skinner. But I want to put WCW in there because you know what, it would be an absolute travesty if I'm not able to put something like the Diamond Stud or Glacier or what's another shitty gimmick. And don't say the Disco Inferno. I will refuse to put the Disco Inferno in that tournament. I enjoed.
I don't know if this was necessarily a gimmick, but there was this big fat dude back in the 70s who wrestled as the Great Antonio. And he went against Antonio Inoki, and Inoki ended up getting pissed off, and it ended up being a shoot fight where Inoki beat the holy shit out of the Great Antonio. But he was a shitty wrestler, and it was a shitty gimmick. But
Johnny Ace as Raw GM. The Dude Busters. Or was it Dynamic Dudes?
Dynamic Dudes.
Dynamic Dudes. Him and don't tell me. Chris Candido. No,
the Dean.
Shane Douglas.
Yeah,
I hated Shane Douglas. I really did.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. He never brought anything to the table.
Do you consider the gobbledygooker to be a bad gimmick? I mean, it started off as a joke. But now people, when they see it, gobbledygooker, it was so terrible that Eggman. Is Eggman a bad gimmick?
I'll say this, Jay. If I'm going to treat this like the NCAA tournament, I would say the gobbledygooker is on the bubble of being in this tournament. I mean, the Shockmaster might be the number one overall seed in this entire tournament. There's going to be 4-1 seeds. Oh God,
the Goon.
Honestly, Chris, the Goon's probably going to be a 3 or a 4 seed.
What was Hardball or whatever? It wasn't Brooklyn Brawler,
Knuckleball or some shit like that.
You know what? I've got the WWE encyclopedia. I think that thing's going to be a treasure trove of terrible gimmicks we can really.
I'm going to have a lot of people
digest.
Put some input on this, and I love this idea. I'm going to get this together. I'm going to put the bracket together, and I'm probably going to post it. If I don't post it tomorrow, it'll be up on Instagram by Monday. But I'm going to try to get it in tomorrow.
I mean, honestly, I think a bad gimmick you could probably put on there that, like, Ringmaster. That's a bad gimmick. Yes, Dr. Isaac Yankem DDS.
All right, so we got two people who say that. So obviously Isaac Yankem, he probably won't be that high of a seed. He'll probably be like honestly, a 10 or 11 seed.
You know what? He might be in a couple of times. WWE Hall of Famer Kane, Knox County Mayor Kane. Because honestly, I think Fake Diesel should go in there. Fake Razor, bad gimmicks.
I want to see how this unfolds.
Primetime Brian Lee.
I mean, is that a terrible gimmick, or is that? I mean, are we doing terrible gimmicks or terrible wrestlers? If we're doing a terrible wrestlers bracket, the Great Khali is going to be one of the 1 seeds. It'll be like the Great Khali, Nails, Nia Jax, and Kenny Omega as the top 4 1 seeds in the freaking NCAA tournament, in the shittiest wrestlers tournament. Kenny Omega
in the April Madness, April Annihilation.
That's another one for Isaac Yankem. Isaac Yankem might be getting a lot of love. He might be Isaac Yankem might be going from outside of this bracket to being like a really high top 3 or 4 seed in this tournament. But like, if you want, keep putting in the comments like the people you like to see in this bracket. You can also write it on our Facebook page, at the F and Marks. You can tweet it at us. You can put you can make comments. I'm going to post something on Instagram after the show. If you want to put some comments in there of people you like to see, we'll get the ball rolling. I need 64 names, not the Disco Inferno. I'm refusing to put the Disco Inferno on this tournament. Glacier, I think, is a bubble team.
For me, the thing I enjoyed about Glacier, like, just his entrance alone.
Oh,
I'm like, I mean, yeah.
Adam Bomb. Oh, man.
Adam Bomb and shit, man. He got screwed over.
You're going to put my family in that tournament and shit, Bert? Damn. No, I actually kind of like the Warlord gimmick. He was a shitty wrestler, but I liked the Warlord gimmick when they broke up. When they broke up him and the Barbarian.
When he had like the Phantom of the Opera.
Phantom of the Opera mask, and he had like the weird gear, and he had that freaking that scepter that had the W at the top. Yeah, I messed. That dude was the dude, man. I fucked with the Warlord, man. I like Warlord. I won't put him on there either. Mantar. Phantasmo's probably gonna be on there. Oh man, there's gonna be a lot.
There are so many names that are like
PN News.
Oh,
he's gonna be on there.
Oh,
yo baby, yo baby, yo baby, yo baby.
Chris Brown, Earthquake and Typhoon.
Oh no, wait, they're borderline Hall of Famers. Wait, hold on. Where is it? Hold on. Where it's here somewhere. Norfolk's own Tugboat is not going to be in this tournament.
Now, Tugboat could possibly. I was going to say Tugboat, maybe. Oh, man.
He's right there from Norfolk, Virginia, right down the road.
Leaping Lanny Poffo.
For the genius.
Oh, he's saying the Mountie. He loves the Mountie gimmick.
I love the Mountie gimmick.
Specifically because of the SummerSlam, what was it, 91?
SummerSlam 91. That was the first pay-per-view I ever got as a wrestling fan. And it was the match made in heaven versus the match made in hell.
The match made in hell.
And frankly, the match made in hell was just drizzle shits. Yes, I mean, it was nice to see Randy Savage and Miss Elizabeth get married on TV, even though they were actually married in real life. But that big boss man Mountie match and the prison match, like whoever ends up in jail, the jailhouse match. I'm sorry. I really enjoyed that, and I've just been a fan of the Mountie. I really do think that Jacques Rougeau should be in the WWE Hall of Fame.
If Great Khali is in the Hall of Fame and Coco Beware, Nikolai Volkov are in the Hall of Fame, definitely there is a place for Jacques Rougeau, even if, like, allegedly he does not have a great reputation within the wrestling industry. But
side note, when he was in I think it was the Dino Bravo Dark Side of the Ring, and he was talking, he goes, "Who am I? Well, I'm the Mountie. And as soon as he said that, I'm thinking, I'm
the Mountie.
Fantastic entrance song. He was a great character, former Intercontinental Champion, former Tag Team Champion. I'm sorry, he's not on this. He's not going to be in this tournament.
Is the man's man going to be on the?
He's a man's man. Out of respect to William Regal, I will not put him on.
Come on,
I love William Regal.
That was so terrible. What about terrorizing? Right?
The sad part is, the sad part is I could probably do a bracket of just like failed NWO people, because you got the Diamond Stud, and then
Well, he wasn't NWO.
Diamond Stud. He was eventually. That was Scott Hall. Scott Hall was the Diamond Stud.
That was like years.
But I'm talking about like failed gimmicks who went to somewhere else and then came back to WCW and entered the NWO. So we could put Oz in there. We could put
Vinny. Oz.
I mean, hell, I'm probably gonna make it. I think of 8-9 matchups going to be Oz versus Vinny Vegas. The Diamond Stud's going to be in there. Let's see. I know Scott Norton has some terrible. He was like Ice Pick or some shit like that before he was Scott Norton.
What?
Buff the Stuff.
What the heck was Adam Bomb's gimmick?
He was
and he had the axe.
Oh, he was it was F and Mark's Hall of Fame show, Clash of the Champions 13. He was where
he went against Sid.
He
went against Sid and Curtis the Cat Hughes, or came out for the 57th time during the show. But yeah, maybe it was the Executioner or
hold on, I'm on it. Clash
13, so good.
The Champions.
But we could go on and on with this. I mean, Colonel DeClerc.
I'm gonna leave those guys out of that because
they're already Hall of Famers for being on that show. Black Scorpion. Black Scorpion's a good gimmick, right? Yeah, Fake Diesel and Razor, I think. Personally, I believe they should be on.
Like I said, it's going to come down to like what's going to end up
going against the Shockmaster.
Sid Vicious beat Brian. It was Brian Adams. Brian Clark. What's his name?
One of them
was the Night Stalker. Brian Clark was the Night Stalker, who was also Wrath. He was also Adam Bomb. I love that gimmick. I'm sorry. I love that Adam Bomb gimmick. But
yeah.
Shit, I can't even put my glasses on. That's how brainless I am.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of those is at least one of those will be on there too. This is gonna be watch this end up being like I'm gonna come up with like 64 and somehow it's gonna end up as 128. I'm gonna go through 128 wrestlers to come up with the ultimate shit gimmick.
Well, we could, if you find that you're getting too many, you could just say, all right, I'm going to break it up from the 80s, the 90s, 2000s, like the Portuguese Man o' War. Like,
Aldo Montoya! Poor Just Incredible. Max Moon!
The winner.
Oh.
Barry Horowitz. There are so many great shit gimmicks.
You know what's going to happen too, Jay, is that I'm probably going to go through this thing and I'm going to probably rattle off like 40 or 50 WWE names. I'm like, I might as well just stick with the WWE theme. And then after this one's done, I'll do a WCW one, which I'm pretty sure I could at least get 32 for WCW.
No, I think we could get far more than that. Again, we could watch Clash 13 and probably get 10.
Oh, what was it? Little Richard Marley?
Yeah. Damien Demento.
Oh, my God. Damien Demento. Yeah, it's going to end up being a WWE only thing. This is gonna be I love this.
It's going to explode.
I cannot wait.
Can you take this for like a minute or two? I'm going to get the WWE encyclopedia out so we could really start.
So, like I said, I'm gonna start up this tournament probably at some point tomorrow. I'm going to try to do it like early afternoon because the last one I did, it was kind of late at night, and I don't, I didn't want, and the way that tournament was set up, I wanted the finals to be done before the episode of the podcast, and I've done enough of the math, and yes, I know, you're brainless, how are you going to know math? I figured if I get it done by early afternoon tomorrow or like really late morning, super early afternoon, I could probably have the finals done before we go live next Saturday.
You know, I got a great one from WCW. Hugh Morris.
Oh, goodness. What? Was that supposed to be funny, Jay? What? Was that supposed to be? You actually have the WWE encyclopedia. Why does the WWE encyclopedia need a WWE encyclopedia? Knuckleball Schwartz, that's what it was. Abe Knuckleball Schwartz. 3-minute warning. Oh my God. For the record, I've never seen this encyclopedia before. This is all brand new to me. Aldo Montoya, the Portuguese man, Albert.
When he was Prince Albert, I'm not sure if I was too big of a fan of that gimmick.
Oh God!
Did you
see that last page? It made me sick. That.
The Allied Powers.
That's when I should have realized that the WWE didn't know what the hell they were doing when they had an undefeated tag team lose to a makeshift tag team.
I'm going to keep rolling through this.
Wow. Antonino Rocco.
Avatar.
Arnold Scotland. Oh my goodness, this thing is tremendous. She's dead. Should Balls Mahoney be on that list, or do you think I can come up with enough?
Oh, I think we could come up with plenty.
Remember when he was, what was it? He was a stalker, wasn't he? Barry Windham?
He was the Widowmaker. The Widowmaker, Barry Windham.
Wasn't he the Night Stalker?
Oh, Bastion Booger's got to be on that list.
Oh, of course he was going to be on that. He's probably going to be a solid 2 seed. Friar Ferguson. Yep, see, Josh actually put Friar Ferguson on there.
Wait. I enjoyed this gimmick, but the Berserker was kind of a bad idea.
He might.
Huff.
It depends on what I can get for here.
Beaver Cleavage.
Yeah, Beaver Cleavage is
Big Dick Johnson. Batman went to. Hey, how about the Ninja Turtle gimmick that never ended up on TV?
Oh my goodness! No, they have to make it on TV before it can be.
What are your thoughts on Big Bully Busick?
Big Bully Busick might make the list. I mean, it's gonna build him up. There he is, Hugh Morris. Who the hell is Big Man Steel?
It's Tugboat.
Well, that worked. Oh my goodness, this is tremendous.
I have Dolph Ziggler and I think the Miz's autograph in this thing.
Oh wow,
yeah,
the Blue Meanie. I love the Blue Meanie, Mr. Bob Backlund himself. I have his autograph.
Oh, there you go.
The goat. Oh, you got hey, no. If you're going to show Andre, you got to show the other goat, the real goat, Bobby the Brain Heenan, the man who is solely responsible for this gimmick right here. Speaking of gimmicks.
Yeah,
and I think this is gonna be a lot of fun. I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm excited for this. So, anybody else you could think of? The Boogeyman.
I enjoyed the Boogeyman gimmick. I actually got to interview him years ago. I think it's on Naff and Mark's page. I think I posted the link a couple years back. So,
you've actually met a who's of wrestlers too.
Oh yeah, I've met a whole bunch of.
Jay's had a much better run with meeting professional wrestlers. The only ones I ever met were Rob Van Dam, Stevie Richards, and The Undertaker. I mean, granted, The Undertaker is The Undertaker. But, Nails is also going to be in this tournament.
What are your thoughts on Brooklyn Brawler?
Man was there for a long time. He was the prototypical.
He was a jobber.
He was the best job. He was the best of the. Now I know that this.
Him and Barry Horowitz were on the same level.
I know, like saying like the greatest jobber is like saying being the best player on the Pittsburgh Pirates right now.
Right.
But it's I mean you still have a Buddy Landell. Buddy Rogers needs his own page too. I'll give him that. I like how they did this too, because like they have all these different wrestlers and they have like these little cutouts, but like all the big time, like Buddy Rogers, Andre the Giant, Bobby Heenan, like the big time.
They give them extra.
They give them a lot of, which means Hulk Hogan's is probably like 12 pages long.
Right.
Carlos Colon, the man who signed off on the murder of WWE Hall of Famer Bruiser Brody. Was Bruiser in there? Was Bruiser Brody in there?
Yeah, he's in there.
Okay.
Oh, I forgot when I got Christian's autograph. He actually showed up at the TV station I worked at in Providence. So.
Oh, look at that!
The
Speaking of goats who have goated more than goats have ever goated in the history of goatdom. Didn't I say that somebody else is now in that class with Chris Jericho?
I think
Wasn't it AJ Styles?
It might have been.
I think it was AJ Styles. I think last week I officially announced that AJ Styles, Waylon Mercy.
What about the coach? He was like the guy who helped out Mr. Perfect, and I think there were a couple other folks that he.
Clarence Mason. I love it. I love this. This is just
wait. You know what? This I thought was a bad gimmick.
Colonel Mustafa,
even though he was in the Match Made in Hell, like he just was not.
That's a nice write up for Bob Orton. That's a pretty impressive write up for Bob Orton.
But you know, with Colonel Mustafa, it's like he was the Iron Sheik. He was from Iran, and then all of a sudden you have him from Iraq. Like that always hit me the wrong way.
It's the Iron Sheik. Any Sheik is better than no Sheiky.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, this is just a treasure trove of what could be very bad gimmicks that Damien Demento.
Oh, we're getting close. I can smell it. Oh, where is it? Come on. You're just delaying the inevitable, Jay. He's gonna have a large. He's probably gonna have like a little it's gonna be like 4 pages long.
Yeah.
Where is it? Where is he? Don Morocco. There's a goat.
One of the earlier greater intercontinental champions.
Greatest tag team of all time. Don't at me. Hey, look, he's right next to him too.
Hey,
that's perfect. They put the Dudley Boys next to the greatest wrestling gimmick of all time, Duke the Dumpster Droese. The man who let me down for his performance at WrestleMania 17, that piece of shit.
All right, so current shit gimmicks. What they're settling with Dabba-Kato with.
You know,
it's something. He's on TV. I mean, think about Batista when he first started, when he was with Reverend Devon.
Yep.
Yeah, PN News is definitely going to
be. Yo, baby, yo. Yo, baby, yo, baby, yo.
So if the brainless one definitely splits this up, PN News is going to definitely be on the WCW one. So, yeah. Anyway.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So
F and Mark's Hall of Famer just at... So we just had breaking news, I guess we could call it breaking news. F and Mark's Hall of Famer Gags the Clown has just posted that Chris Jericho is going to donate big money to Steve Mongo McMichael.
I know that he definitely posted, I think, $2,500 already. So here you go. This looks like a terrible gimmick.
The Executioner?
The Executioner and the Executioners. I mean, just look at that outfit. I mean, it's almost as bad as when Rikishi was the Sultan.
Yes. Oh my God, that's got to be on there too. I think I'm just going to keep it. I let me see how it looks. Let me see how many I can get. Sure. But I might keep this one WWE exclusive and then do a WCW one possibly next week.
Okay.
I'm going to try my damnedest. I know I got a lot of shit that's going to be coming up on the horizon. So I'm going to try because I'm going to have to take 64 fucking screen grabs just to get all that. Freddie Joe Floyd. Why does Freddie Joe Floyd look like Tracy Smothers?
Because he is.
Oh, Frenchie Martin, though. Holy woo. Okay.
There you go. Friar Ferguson.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun tournament. I can't wait.
Sean Spears, before he was Sean Spears.
Gavin Spears, that's right. I vaguely remember him.
Gangrel.
No, never. He will not be on that. Gary Michael Capetta.
Bad gimmick or no?
George the Animal Steel?
Yes.
No.
All right.
He's a legend.
He's a Hall of Famer.
He's a legend. Johnny Gonzalez is going to be on that list.
Oh, no doubt.
And Gilbert. I mean, on that page alone, we could probably get 3. I mean, between Gilbert, Giant Gonzalez and the Gobbledygooker. That could be 3 right there.
So is one of his gimmicks a thing? Papa Shango.
I
Papa Shango.
loved the Godfather. The Papa Shango thing was actually pretty cool. I like that one.
I enjoyed it, even though it like, I don't know. Anyway, we could go on, honestly, for hours in this, and we do have our wonderful... The Goon!
The Goon!
Yeah.
So with the whole Chris Jericho thing, it was announced yesterday. Actually, Chris, I'll be right. Steve Mongo McMichael, former NFL player who was at WrestleMania 11. He was in Lawrence Taylor's corner, who was also a WCW star.
Former United States champion, member of the Four Horsemen.
Yep.
He came down with ALS.
Also known as Lou Gehrig's disease,
several years ago.
Yeah, and he just came out with it and said that this is what's happening. The Chicago Bears have actually gotten him a special wheelchair because he has lost all the function in his arms and most of the function in his legs, so he's not very mobile anymore. He has announced that he will no longer be making public appearances anymore, and Chris Jericho is now came out and is donating money to Steve McMichael to help in this cause. It's a terrible thing. Look, I have my opinions about Steve McMichael.
Well, as a performer,
yes, as a performer,
like he was a bad commentator and he was a bad performer in the ring. But you know what?
Hell of a football player. And
you don't wish these sort of things on anybody. No. And taking care of somebody who is dealing with something like this costs an awful lot of money.
Yep.
And it's just a shame when things like this happen to people.
Agreed. And just the fact that he was actually at the only WrestleMania I've ever been to. Do you know who broke the news, Jay? Walter Payton's son.
Okay.
All right. I did not know that. Jarrett Payton, I think his name is.
Okay.
But yeah, it's sad to see. I really don't want to see anything like this happen to McMichael. Ironically, it was his wife that actually left him, and she married Steve Austin, and that led to a very dark side of Steve Austin's life. But obviously, Steve Austin's gotten much better over it. I never thought Deborah McMichael was that hot anyway.
But
she had a weird face.
All I'll say is that I'm certainly praying for Steve McMichael and his family and all they're going through right now. And, a few years ago, like they came up with the ALS Ice Bucket Challenge. And ALS is something that has been around for so many years, and they really haven't. There wasn't many advances as far as treatment for ALS. And after the Ice Bucket Challenge, they actually did make some strides as far as like figuring things out about the disease. But, certainly prayers are up for his family, and hopefully, he's able to live his life as fully as he can.
Yeah. So it's a shame. It really is.
It is. So.
Item on a pole match. They should just put Vince Russo's name all over that. That's all I should say is Vince Russo. Oh, that makes sense. Why is it a shitty gimmick?
Right.
Jack Tunney. Oh shit. Okay.
I know. I'm excited. I'm keeping on going through this thing.
All right. What else could we? While you're going through that, what else could we talk about? Oh, so another major announcement came out this week. Former Raw Women's Champion, former UFC Women's Champion. I forget what division. I want to say flyweight or featherweight or something like that. Ronda Rousey announced this week that her and her husband are expecting their first child. So congratulations to Ronda Rousey. I know that was part of the reason why she stepped away from the ring when she did, because her and her husband wanted to have children, and now she's pregnant. So congratulations to the two of them, and I hope that it's a very healthy and successful pregnancy. And I hope that the baby, whatever it is, a boy or a girl, will put the doctor in a arm bar when it comes out.
Yeah, that would be great. Arm bar. Hey, that would mean that the baby already knows the first move of the 1004 holds of Jericho.
And only 1,003 more to go.
Yeah.
Drag was number 2.
But, with this, it's like her being able to get pregnant and have a baby. Like, I think a lot of people were hoping and thinking that possibly at this year's WrestleMania that she was going to reappear, but obviously being at the time 3 months pregnant doesn't work well. But I think at some point she will get back to WWE. Maybe it's WrestleMania in Hollywood. A couple years down the line, maybe she'll decide to.
Yeah. I don't think we've seen the last of Ronda Rousey in the WWE ring.
Yeah.
I just don't. I know that's what she wanted to do, was have this baby. I'm sure she was just dead set on it. I think maybe given a few more months and nothing were to happen, then yeah, we'll probably see her in the ring a lot sooner. And I think that's the reason why A, we didn't see her at the Royal Rumble, and B, we didn't see her at WrestleMania this year.
So good for her. Congratulations to her and her husband on this, and that's fantastic. So,
and isn't it kind of wild how many women have gotten pregnant in WWE over the last year? You got Becky Lynch. You had, I think, Maria. Did Maria get pregnant before? Or
it was during.
Oh, okay. So it was a little more than a year ago that Maria got pregnant again. Lacey Evans has been out because she's pregnant. Ronda Rousey's now announced that she's pregnant, and which is kind of funny because stories. One of the stories I heard around, because a lot of people were wondering why Charlotte Flair wasn't at WrestleMania, was because she was being punished, so to speak, for the fact that she helped Andrade get the release with no 90-day unable to compete clause. People were wondering if what was the reason why she was off the card for WrestleMania, because she came in there, she challenged Asuka for the title, and then she just disappeared.
Right.
So apparently one of the rumors that's been going around is that the WWE doctors claimed that Charlotte Flair was pregnant. And then she came out and refuted those facts, and it led to her and Dave Meltzer getting into it. And you know what? After that little exchange between Dave Meltzer and Charlotte Flair has climbed up my totem pole ever so slightly. She is now not as irritating and bothersome to me. And, she could do whatever she wants now. Anybody goes after, if you go after Omega, Kevin Owens, or Meltzer, you're in my good graces. Those are the 3 worst for me. Oh, no. What the hell's wrong with me? I forgot the worst of the worst. The Bucktooth Beaver. He's the worst. The worst. The worst. Worst and worst.
Right.
Kevin Dunn, if you don't know who the Bucktooth Beaver is.
Right.
But, I thought that was very interesting that Charlotte, and now she's back off TV after she attacked the referees and
after listening to Asuka this week on Raw.
Yep. And she got fined $100,000 and was suspended indefinitely.
Right. So I'm just going to throw out a couple more names possibly for bad gimmicks that we could put on your list.
Quang.
Johnny Polo, possibly.
Oh, man. Raven?
It's not Raven. It's Johnny Polo.
Who did Johnny Polo turn into? Still, to me, the greatest mindfuck in wrestling history. Going from Johnny Polo.
Lord Tensai. I mean, I know they tried to make it work, but
it worked in Japan.
Didn't work here.
No. I think it's because of the fact that everybody realized that it was Prince Albert just with no hair on his back.
Lord Tensai. Anyway. So yeah.
Captain Lou.
I'm gonna just shut this because I'll just sit there and keep on and be like freaking reading time.
I'm just amazed that the human encyclopedia himself needed an actual physical WWE encyclopedia.
It helps, focus my thoughts. Instead, I've got all these names and it's flashing through my head.
It's very impressive too. If you've ever seen it, all you got to do is just go to Jay and be like, "Hey Jay, what was the name? What was Alex Wright's nickname when he was in WCW?"
The Wonderkind.
Das Wonderkind.
His dancing moves are legendary.
Hold on. I got it.
I want to see a dancing
It'd
match
be better if I was
between
stand-
the Disco Inferno and Fandango.
And Brodus Clay.
Yeah, well, the Funkadactyls more appropriately. And Too Cool. They could have a dance off. Yeah.
Santino needs to be there too.
Right. So.
But yeah. Let's see. What else do we have? I say we just run through the actual wrestling aspect of what happened this week.
Sure.
Is there anything worth noting from Monday Night Raw? Has sucked. Monday Night Raw is the worst show on television. I'm not even talking about wrestling related. Monday Night Raw is the worst show on television, any network at any time throughout the entire country. I'm sorry, it is. And the reports that came out this week, I'm sorry, I'm not trying
Matt Riddle beating Randy Orton. Like, after the programs both of them just went through, the fact that Randy Orton recently was challenging for the heavyweight championship, and the fact that Matt Riddle, lost the U.S. title in, in my view, in pretty convincing fashion, and
then got worked the following week on Raw when he went up against Bobby Lashley,
and then he goes and beats
Randy
Orton. Now, I know Randy Orton's not gonna, it's not gonna tarnish Randy Orton's image, but I mean, just terrible.
Because if you think about it, a couple of weeks ago we covered WrestleMania, and we talked about our biggest issues. And one of my biggest issues in regards to WrestleMania was the fact that Randy Orton beat The Fiend in a victory that Randy Orton really didn't need. The Fiend should have won that match. I don't care what the storyline was and how it's leading to Alexa Bliss and whatever that little Lily. That's it.
Lily.
The basically it's Alexa Bliss and the girl from the AT&T commercials, and that it led to the storyline. Whatever. Randy Orton shouldn't have won that match. On the flip side, Randy Orton should also not have won that match, beating him with one RKO. I'm sorry.
I mean, how many times did we see the Fiend get like a spear and a jackhammer, and he kicked out, and he kicked out, and he kicked out, or like the Hell in the Cell match?
Thank you. I was just about to bring that up.
I mean, the one that like we flipped. I certainly flipped out about, because the Hell in the Cell match, the referee should not call it off for any reason at all.
Agree.
But
so the fact that the way that they've been booking things on Raw, it didn't make any sense for Matt Riddle to beat Randy Orton. Kudos to Matt Riddle for getting a very, very big victory against a legend of the caliber of the legend killer himself, Randy Orton. But what I thought was interesting was how they had the show set up originally, how they promoted it, changed as soon as Vince McMahon walked in the building.
It was supposed to be
Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre.
The monster among men, I thought.
You're right. It was supposed to be Braun Strowman and Randy Orton going at it on Monday, and then Vince came in there and was like, "No, that's not such good."
Even though they actually promoted it for like several days, and then you take it away, and Orton alluded to it on Twitter.
We got Randy Orton against Matt Riddle, which for me, I'm not complaining about watching Matt Riddle and Randy Orton go at it. No. But then it also changed it so that instead of where we were supposed to get Braun Strowman, ended up teaming up with Drew McIntyre to go up against T-Bar and Mace of the group formerly known as Retribution.
One thing I will say about what happened during this match is, thankfully for T-Bar and Mace,
they were unmasked.
And this will allow them to move forward from the shitty gimmick that they got, thrown at them. A guy like Dominik Dijakovic deserved a hell of a lot better than what he was given. And he was like, you know what, it's my foot in the door, probably similar to, Stone Cold Steve Austin with the Ringmaster. He's like, you know what, it'll give me an opportunity, so I'm going to just take it. Whether or not it was, whether or not Dominik Dijakovic should have done like Mercedes Martinez did, or was it Mercedes or Raquel?
Mercedes Martinez.
And said, no, send me back to NXT. But, I'm glad that with this match that we got them unmasked, and they got a win over Braun and Drew McIntyre, but we got to see their faces, and hopefully this will be the beginning of them heading up the card. And he and Dio Madden are both big dudes, and I think could have a future. It's just a matter of if they're taken seriously going forward.
And Chris Brown brought up a really good point. Let's see if they're referred to by their rightful names on Raw before we go that far.
Oh, absolutely. And yeah, if they're still called T-Bar and Mace, I hope they give them promo time this week coming up so they can actually rail against the stupid names. And now Slapjack
beat me to it.
Cannot be messed with. Slapjack needs to remain Slapjack.
It's basically just the oxymoron, because we want T-Bar and Mace to go back to being known as Dio Madden and Donovan Dijakovic, but we don't want Shane Thorne to go back to being Shane Thorne. We want him to continue being Slapjack, wearing the mask too. He has to wear the mask.
He has to wear the
Slapjack needs to be Slapjack going forward, because nobody cares about Shane Thorne. Donovan Dijakovic had too good of a name and established himself so well outside of WWE that he kind of needs his name to go back to what it was and not be T-Bar.
And I'm wondering if this is just a thing. Did they take away the Dominic name because Dominic Mysterio's there? I mean, WWE does stuff like that.
If that was because Donovan Dijakovic has actually been there longer than Dominic Mysterio.
But not on the main roster. That's how Vince thinks.
Yeah, but
Vince will look who has the higher ceiling, and in his mind, because of the name, notoriety, Dominic Mysterio has a bigger ceiling.
But it would be stupid because he's already changed Donovan Dijakovic's name once before he even got to the main roster. Because he was, if you remember, a lot of people might not remember this, but he was Donovan Dijak,
right,
before he became Dijakovic. But
anyway, I hope this is the beginning of many steps to correct what was thrusted upon these two performers. The whole Retribution storyline, honestly, it's like...
It was fumbled.
They did all this stuff to build up Retribution. And then, we love the Hurt Business, but, the first week... Retribution had a match. They went against the Hurt Business and lost.
Yep.
You're trying to build up this faction into something, from a bunch of people that you don't know, and trying to make them into something important, and you just first week out have them lose. They shouldn't have gone against the Hurt Business, because the other thing that was super confusing about that, Retribution were coming in as heels, Hurt Business were heels, and they were no longer seen as a threat and completely ruined at that moment. And they tried to, have Mustafa Ali come in and be, their voice. And
I will say this, and with the fact that they did what they're doing, I'm hoping that they're going to move forward with Dio Madden and Donovan Dijakovic being in the Hurt Business, because I think that would be a really good move for them. Dio Madden really needs to kind of establish himself. He kind of had that cup of coffee where he was announcing for Monday Night Raw. I didn't think he did too terrible. I didn't think he deserved to get kicked off of the broadcast team, but obviously they wanted him to be a wrestler, so that's why they kind of transitioned him over to that.
Sure.
I think that would be a good stepping stone, and to help Donovan Dijakovic kind of reestablish himself and rebuild his name and his legacy now, because you go from Retribution, which was just there's not even a word that I could really say without it sounding terrible, but it was horrible what they did with that.
I mean, honestly, I think that should be on the top 64 worst gimmicks.
But I think that working, especially with somebody of the magnitude of MVP and what he has done and his idea of the Hurt Business, because this was his idea, was the Hurt Business, and putting him with Bobby Lashley. And no disrespect to Shelton Benjamin or Cedric Alexander. I'm a fan of both of them, especially Shelton Benjamin. I love Shelton Benjamin. But if you think about the Hurt Business and you look at, Again, not to discount Shelton Benjamin or Cedric Alexander.
I mean, we're still upset that they actually disbanded the Hurt Business.
I'm still pissed off about that.
I guess technically speaking, Hurt Business didn't break up, but they
downsized.
They downsized.
But like if you think about it, like if you think of the Hurt Business and you have MVP leading Bobby Lashley, Dio Madden, and Donovan Dijakovic, that looks like a Hurt Business. They look like they want to hurt you. And I think that would be a very smart move. And granted, I know I'm expecting a lot from WWE to be smart, but I think that would be a smart move going forward because I think that would benefit all parties involved.
And I enjoyed what they did on Raw as far as MVP, kind of like Drew McIntyre calling out MVP saying, "Oh, you're the one who got Mason T-Bar to attack me last week." No, I didn't do that. Why would you think that of me? And just having him do that, Drew about to go into the ring and kind of like, all right, just kind of like being face to face, like, oh, you're telling me this is true. Okay, all right. I believe you. And then like as he's about to do that, that's when Mason T-Bar attack, and like MVP just gives a little bit of a grin as he like leaves the area. But again, Mason T-Bar don't even pay any attention to MVP, so kind of giving you at least a little bit of that. Mm-hmm. Is he with them or not with them? Similar to like the Shield back in the day with Paul Heyman.
Yep.
Was Paul Heyman working with them? Was he not working with them?
Yeah, the CM Punk thing where they were like, he's like, I had nothing to do with that. And then I kind of see the thing with what the hell was his name? Who was the old general manager of Raw? He was a referee, Brad Maddox. When they had the whole thing, and it just kind of turned out the way it did.
Sure.
I'm gonna say this real quick, and then we're gonna continue on with the rest of Raw. When MVP had his first run with WWE and he got let go, I was pissed. I loved watching MVP every single week. And I kept waiting because I'm like, eventually MVP is going to come back. I want to see MVP back. MVP was one of those guys, like, I really wanted to see back. Like, really the only one that I could think of off the top of my head I wanted to see come back more than MVP was CM Punk. But, like, I was a huge mark for Punk, and I really don't – I'm really starting to think he ain't coming back. But, like, when MVP came back last year, I was beyond ecstatic to see MVP back. I was like, well, it's kind of like what Cheech Marin said in Ghostbusters 2. Better late than never. And, like, even if it's a one-off thing, and then he has the match with Rey Mysterio the following night on Raw, and that's it for MVP. But, like, when they brought him in there, and I said, this is brilliant because the guy is way too talented to not be an asset towards WWE, whether he's in charge of a faction or if he's as a producer or if he's just going to do like his MVP. I forget what's the name of MVP show that he did.
The VIP Lounge.
The VIP Lounge. Anything that MVP does is just gold. And I just enjoy what he's doing. And I think with him and the Hurt Business, if they put those guys with him, with all the years that he's been doing this and how successful the MVP was, because he was very successful in WWE. He was very successful in Impact Wrestling. MVP is just too damn talented to not help out other people, and he's just an absolute asset for WWE. And I'm just glad that he's back.
Yeah,
and I think he would be really good, especially for Dio Madden, because Dio Madden really doesn't know the industry as well. Donovan Dijakovic can kind of recover from whatever it is. But Dio Madden is going to need that help. And I think having MVP is going to definitely help Dio Madden get to the point where he needs to be going forward.
And these are two ginormous dudes. You put them together as a team. I mean, if you take them seriously, like if they're treated seriously, that you could be like, the tag team champions, and make it so the tag team division actually seems like something that is not a joke.
Because because that was one of the things that we have talked about, like with WWE, is that they've just absolutely taken monster shits all over the tag team divisions for both shows. And hell, the women's too. They have no tag team division whatsoever, and it breaks my heart for somebody who's a huge tag team wrestling fan.
So anyway, speaking of tag team wrestling and the Hurt Business, we did have Cedric and Shelton Benjamin going against the Viking Raiders again.
For the second week in a row.
But this week, more or less, it was a squash match where the Viking Raiders, as opposed to like the week before where it was a very competitive match. Viking Raiders dominated this thing, and poor Shelton and Cedric are now
That hurts my heart too.
So there was that. We did have the speaking of, again, tag team divisions not being taken super seriously. We ended up having the women's tag team champions taking a loss this week in a non-title match.
Oh no, that's never happened before ever.
Now they did it with like via distraction, where like Dana and Mandy distracted Nia by showing footage of them beating her down last week. That caused Nia to like leave the ring, leaving Shayna in the ring alone and getting rolled up for a pin. And this is a familiar thing that they've been doing with Nia and Shayna for the last several weeks. So Nia and Shayna are either two of the dumbest women in the world, or it's terrible booking. Guess what I'm going with?
I'm going to say both.
I'm going with terrible booking.
Of course it's terrible booking, Jay. It's Monday Night Raw. We've been doing this podcast long enough, Jay. We know when terrible booking is happening.
Yeah.
We've been watching wrestling long enough as well.
A shocking thing for me on Monday Night Raw is we got to see Elias get a win. So Elias beat Kofi Kingston this week.
Where is he? Where is Elias?
I don't know. Somebody's walking with him right now. So
I like it. That's good shit. That's such good shit, pal.
But we did have Elias go over on Kofi, and I'm sure it's going to be Jackson Riker and Elias going against New Day at some point. So if they're hoping to build up Elias and Jackson Riker, defeating a team like the New Day would be a good feather in their cap, and perhaps,
yes.
At some point getting up the ladder of the tag team division. But again, this is just my personal preference. I would rather see if Mason T-Bar end up being a tag team and being in the Hurt Business, I would rather see them get a shot before I would like to see Elias and Jackson, as much as I love Elias. And I have nothing against Jackson Riker as a performer. But I like the Hurt Business and want to see that as like a powerful faction, as opposed to the Hurt Business just more or less being one person with a manager.
Agreed.
So during this episode of Raw, we did have Miz and Maurice out there promoting the new season of Miz and Mrs. And also there is going to be on the Peacock on the network a Miz documentary debuting this weekend. And they were out promoting that, but Damian Priest came out, had to say some words of peace there and challenged Miz. And Miz's wife accepted the challenge. I don't think Miz wanted to take this match. But, it was a cool little bit where, just like Maurice getting fired up and putting her man in a match that he didn't want. But, it was to defend her and to defend the family honor and all right. So that match happened, but Damian Priest went over in this match as he should.
No surprise.
So
I really do like the way that they're booking Priest. Granted, him losing the 2-on-1 handicap match, the Monday after WrestleMania, kind of it irked me a little bit. But I mean, I get it. It's like they're two of the better, well-known wrestlers. It's like I expect somebody like Priest to lose to two guys like John Morrison and The Miz. But I do like the way, since he's gotten called up, they are actually doing a really good job with the way they're booking him. So I have to give kudos there, because how often have they dropped the ball with almost everybody?
So, Eric, as far as character goes, the Miz's wife has to speak up for him, because Miz right now is playing a chicken shit heel, and he would not accept a challenge from a babyface like Damian Priest. So his wife has to put him into a situation that he doesn't want. So that's the only reason. Obviously, Miz is a great talker and doesn't need her. But as far as his character goes right now, she is a helpful cog in that wheel. And, I think Maurice, at this point, like more or less, she's at home being a mother and Miz is out,
being
wrestling
awesome. And being awesome.
Right. So, but I think they bring in Maurice when they feel that she helps the story. And I think she's helping the current story right now. So, yeah. So that's what I'll say as far as that goes.
I agree 100% with that.
So, in our Raw main event, we did have Asuka going against Charlotte. Like earlier in the show, Charlotte talked about how she could beat both Rhea Ripley and Asuka and actually could do it in the same night. And Ripley kind of said, well, hey, I'll accept that challenge. But Ripley's like, I don't even think you can beat Asuka on your own, let alone both of us in a night. But, and I think this is something that went on backstage. This just, hypothesis on my part, as Charlotte referred to herself as the opportunity. And, when people, let's say 5-10 years ago, would go against The Undertaker at WrestleMania, it was an opportunity for that performer.
Right.
Now, women's division wise, even just getting into the ring with Charlotte because of how high, because of her status,
yep.
That's an opportunity for whoever she's in the ring with, even if that other performer is the champion. It's an opportunity because of how highly Charlotte is regarded.
That's why, and I feel like that's like, to go back to WrestleMania 18. If you think about it, like of all the matches, the one that really stood out the most was The Rock versus Hulk Hogan. And that was an opportunity for The Rock to go up against his childhood hero, and a guy who is, I mean, if you think about it, who's a bigger name in wrestling than Hulk Hogan? Sorry, there's nobody else. It's Hulk Hogan and then everybody else. Well, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair and then everybody else.
Right.
But like, it's all about the opportunities that you take, and that was a big spot for The Rock. And like because it's like, all right, how many times are you going to main event against Stone Cold Steve Austin? Oh, okay, let's throw him against Hulk Hogan instead. And it worked.
But coming back to Charlotte, Charlotte right now is quote unquote the opportunity. But this set up for Charlotte and Asuka for later on in the night, and they had a heck of a match, and there was a part where it looked like Charlotte was about to win the match. Had Asuka in the figure four, and Rhea Ripley broke up the figure four. The ref didn't see it, and Asuka got the roll up victory. And that's when Charlotte exploded on the ref. Wait. And because of her actions, Adam Pearce ends up firing or fining her and suspending her. And for whatever reason, she's written off TV. Maybe it's legit storyline, or maybe she does have a dental procedure she needs to have done.
She might have to get her wisdom teeth taken out.
Who knows? But for whatever reason, like, to me, if she was having a dental procedure, unless something happened where like she's had an emergency in the last couple of weeks, it's like, why put her back on TV to have her written off immediately? So I would say that if there is a dental procedure, it had to be something that just came up recently. So, but either way, Charlotte always does great in matches. I don't like how she's always injected into the title picture, but she always does her part. So
I'll keep saying it. I will continue to say it. And it's the one thing I will defend. As much as I hate the way that they book Charlotte Flair is still one of the top 5 performers in all of WWE between WWE and NXT. She's one of the top 5 performers. That's men or women.
Yeah.
So I completely, because I enjoy watching her wrestle. She is a tremendous in-ring performer. I love watching her matches. I just hate the way that they book her. So,
Chris, the one thing that makes me think that, like, how could it be Andrade completely as far as what's going on with Charlotte right now? Like, they brought her back to TV. Like, it's not like anything new could have happened with Andrade. He's not with the company anymore.
Right.
So I don't buy that one. As far as like them talking about that being the reason, it I don't know. It doesn't ring it doesn't ring true for me. Outside of that, there was a thing for Alexa's Playground I kind of enjoyed, where Alexa talks about how Lily has been around her life ever since she was a child, and they had like a Photoshop picture of Lily with her, which
I
was
love
great.
it when they do stuff like that. I really do.
But she talked about how Lily came around when a little girl was mean to her in the playground, and Alexa talked about how, well, Lily told me to push that girl off of, I think it was a swing. Yeah, Lily made her push the mean girl off the swing, and she broke her arm. And like Alexa has this like smile about it, and like was happy about it, and then talked about how Lily didn't like him, the Fiend, and doesn't like the little girls in the WWE. So it sounds like we're gonna have Alexa back as a performer in the ring, and I wonder who would you think is going to be Alexa's first target? Is she going to go after the championship? Like in the end, in her promo, it sounds like she wants to win title. But do you think, you have her go against the Nightmare? The Nightmare goes against the Nightmare, so to speak.
And you know what? They can do it. And I can tell you exactly how it would work. Because if you think about it, at the Royal Rumble this year, Alexa Bliss came out and she was about to do her thing where she hits that dark side. Who was the one who tossed her out immediately before she could turn into the dark side Alexa Bliss? Rhea Ripley. So Rhea Ripley was the one that saw her going to the way that she was going.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, no, I'm not dealing with this. And then went and just tossed her out.
So there are definitely many opponents because Alexa has not, one, been in the ring for a while as far as going against female competitors. And this is a far different character than the one that we last saw wrestle in the ring. As far as, again, against female competitors. Obviously, we saw her against Orton during Fastlane.
I could see it being somebody like Nikki Cross. Because if you want to do like an immediate thing for her to get back into the ring, I think Nikki Cross would make a lot of sense. I think at some point, probably before SummerSlam, we're going to see Alexa Bliss get in the ring with Rhea Ripley. I could feel it. So,
or do they save that up for SummerSlam? Who knows?
I mean, it could be at SummerSlam. I think at some point, all the way up till SummerSlam, we're going to see that matchup.
Unless they're planting the seeds for Rhea Ripley versus Charlotte at SummerSlam.
Which they could do that as well. But you have so many things you could do with Rhea Ripley. That's why she was the right choice to win the Raw Women's Championship. And no disrespect towards Asuka, because Asuka is still one of the best performers in all of WWE. And she did a hell of a job as champion, but they needed to change.
What if this is pure fantasy booking right now. What if they had her go against Asuka, and it caused Asuka to go from super colorful with all how she paints herself and how she does her makeup up to where she's like black and white with the black teardrops as part of it, and her and Alexa, whether it's a faction or a tag team, be a thing. Just to switch Asuka up. I love Asuka as she is, but I'm just saying, like,
that would be a very interesting caveat to that. I do ultimately think that Io Shirai is going to be in the main roster, and her and Asuka are going to work together.
And one thing, just briefly touching on NXT, is Io Shirai did talk about she's going to take some time off, as far as before she decides to come back for a rematch for her title. And it looks like she is going to be going against Frankie Monet coming soon, because Io said she likes cats instead. Because Frankie Monet with her dog, and she interrupted during when Io Shirai was having an interview. So very disrespectful. So, Taya Valkyrie, aka Frankie Monet, against Io Shirai is not a bad way to kick off your NXT career.
I will say this too, because I thought the Frankie Monet name was just terrible. Because the only name that they've come up with over the last bajillion years that was actually worse was LA Knight, in my opinion. But Taya Valkyrie actually came out
better than Husky Harris and better than Eli Cottonwood and Michael McGillicuddy.
Frankie Monet is terrible. When you go from Taya Valkyrie to Frankie Monet, but she did come out on social media because people have been basically crucifying WWE for giving her such a terrible name. She came out and said, I was actually the one that came up with this name. And I really wish that some people would actually...
That happens a lot.
I really wish some people would actually come out and actually say, hey, you know, like, because I'll tell you right now, I'm still disgusted with the fact that they came up with LA Knight for Eli Drake. Why is Eli Drake anything but Eli Drake? And like, you know, I know a lot of people, there's certain people I know who were not a big fan of like Sami Zayn. They're like, oh, Sami Zayn was such a terrible name compared to El Generico. And then I came across an old picture of Ring of Honor when El Generico was there. And I'm like, Sami Zayn is a step up from El Generico.
If he was Sami Zayn in Ring of Honor and came to WWE and they called him El Generico,
oh, they'd be crucifying him for that.
So I don't put a lot of weight in that.
Like Kevin Owens, Kevin Steen to Kevin Owens. I like the fact that he said that he came up with Owens because it helps him pay homage to Owen Hart. So as much as I despise that fat fuck, I am glad that
the Cupcake Eater of Worlds.
The Cupcake Eater of Worlds. I'm glad that he actually came up with Owens as a way to pay homage to Owen Hart, and kind of like how I came up with Brainless to pay homage to Bobby Heenan.
Yeah.
So, but like, yeah, Frankie Monet was terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So that was Monday Night Raw for this week. All right. SmackDown last night. We ended up having Cesaro come out at the beginning. He wanted to have his challenge answered, but Seth Rollins immediately came out and just said, hey, you know what, Cesaro, it was my worst night and it was your best night and you barely beat me. And, you know, you finally got up to that next level, but it was only because of me that you're able to do this. And Jey Uso ends up coming out and telling Cesaro, you don't deserve to be in the ring with Roman Reigns. And he and Rollins make a, you know, gentleman's agreement that they're going to go after Cesaro. Now, before we get into what happened next, I do enjoy the fact that we're getting two former Shield guys, you know,
the head of the table and the Messiah.
Kind of like,
although I don't think
this is not going to be a permanent thing, but at least for a week, maybe two.
Oh my God, we're getting the Shield back.
We're getting Rollins and Reigns together, you know, as full-blown heels with different characters than they've ever been before, along with having Jey Uso, you know, kind of riding along with this. So I enjoyed, again, the fact that, you know, you get a little bit of history here with Rollins and Reigns coming in with what's going on with Reigns now. But as all this happens, Daniel Bryan comes out to help out Cesaro. And, you know, anybody who's watched SmackDown in the last 20 years, playa, knew what they were angling for. And what did we get? We got a tag team match.
Playa.
Too bad they should just bring Teddy Long back anytime they
just for that purpose, just to put people in matches with the Undertaker,
or make a tag team match.
The fact that he came out for the Raw, that was my favorite part of the Raw Legends night, when he came out and he's like, "You're going 1-on-1 with the Undertaker," and I'm like, "Oh, I love you, Teddy Long. I miss you." Greatest SmackDown general manager of all time, Teddy Long.
Right. So as this melee kind of finishes up, Reigns comes out, points, like, shows off his t-shirt that he has where it's like him pinning, like,
smash them, stack them, pin them. Love it. I might get that shirt now.
Reigns calling Daniel Bryan.
Thought I would ever say.
Reigns calling Daniel Bryan a loser, called Cesaro a loser for letting Daniel Bryan talk for him. He calls them both losers, top tier losers, and main event losers.
Jeez Louise. Like,
I mean,
what are you insulting, a middle schooler?
Honestly, it felt like our former president was out there writing his script. They're all losers, the worst. But no, this would the way Roman delivers this stuff. Even if he's given stuff like this, he delivers in such a way that's just potent, and I love this version of his character, and it's fantastic.
Oh,
you need a nap?
Oh no, you never get one of those really, really good stretches. Oh, that was fantastic.
It's like when you take a good dump.
Yes, there's nothing. There's not a hot take. There's not a better feeling in the world than taking a nice dump.
Hot take. I see what you did there.
I like what they're doing. I know it's setting up because Roman Reigns is going to now be fighting Daniel Bryan again for the Universal Championship, and if he loses
this Friday.
Is it this Friday? It is this Friday.
This Friday.
So if Daniel Bryan loses, he's banished from SmackDown, which a lot of people were speculating because Daniel Bryan's been making a lot of hints that he is going to be
no longer a full-time
employee. A lot of people are expecting because he did come out and say that there were people in AEW he'd like to get in the ring with. He also said there's a bunch of people in NXT that he'd like to get in the ring with. Guys like Finn Balor and Kyle O'Reilly, which sign me up for Finn Balor, Kyle O'Reilly.
Adam Cole, baby,
with Daniel Bryan. I mean, Johnny Gargano. Are you kidding me? Johnny Gargano versus Daniel Bryan.
Right.
Daniel Bryan versus Tommaso Ciampa. I would love to see him go down to NXT. I think that would be an absolute amazing move because there's so many opportunities down there, people he could fight.
Daniel Bryan versus Walter.
I want that in my life.
Yeah.
But like, I
could definitely see that, Chris, about Reigns going over and this being because Bryan's contract is coming up, and I don't think it necessarily means that Bryan's going away. I mean, so one of the things AEW wise, if Daniel Bryan wants to spend, less time on the road, less time wrestling, AEW is going to be starting doing live shows again in July.
Yep. And
I think with the way that they're trying to set things up, I think they want to tour more to get their name out there more. I mean, they might want somebody like Bryan just for his name and just have him on TV, but even so, that wouldn't feed well into what he wants to do. So I don't see him going to AEW. At least if he does that, it won't be right away. He would take, I think, time off. I think he's saved enough money. His wife obviously earned a ton of money between wrestling, Total Divas, Total Bellas. I think they're set for life, and their children are set for life. But I know Bryan enjoys wrestling so much that, if there's somebody he wants to go against, like the names you listed, and for as much as you'd be like, him against Kenny Omega would be freaking great.
Oh God, yes, I'll definitely agree with that. Him versus Omega, him versus Hangman Page, him versus Chris Jericho.
Yeah,
I mean, could you imagine Daniel Bryan and Orange Cassidy going at it? Oh my God, yeah, I'd be on board with that too. Daniel Bryan versus Cody Rhodes. Yeah, I mean, there's so many options out there for Daniel Bryan.
I'd love to see him against like Jungle Boy.
Yeah, I think it'd be great to see him and Jungle Boy go at it. Hell, I mean, he could go to Japan. Him against all those guys in Japan.
Okada.
I mean, that'd be a 55-star match because it'd be him versus Okada in the Tokyo Dome and Dave Meltzer. NATO, Will Ospreay,
Zack Sabre,
Kota Ibushi.
There's a lot of dudes
Tanahashi.
Out there.
There's so many. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. But yeah, like I said, Daniel Bryan fights for the Universal title next week, and if he loses, he's banished from SmackDown, which would be their way to get him off TV and maybe have him take a break. And then I do ultimately think he's going to sign a new contract where he's got that Shawn Michaels contract.
Sure. So Chris Brown saying, is after he's through with Bryan, does this make Cesaro the next number one contender? Or do you think they're going to try to shoehorn Edge, into that next title shot?
Well, I know that Edge is on that very limited schedule, and I know that he came out and he worked a lot more heading into WrestleMania season, but he did say, he's like, dude, I'm in the main event. I'm fighting for the title. I should be on TV as much as I can. I know he has the deal where he only has to make 3 appearances a year to get his money. So the fact that he kind of, quote unquote, shot his load of appearances heading into WrestleMania, I don't see Edge coming back anytime really soon. I think that we might get him in a match at SummerSlam. He might fight Roman Reigns. He might move on. Hell, I'd like to see Edge versus Seth Rollins, if I'm being honest.
And I think that's another thing with Edge. Edge has a list of people he would like to work with.
And hell, I could even see a situation where Edge comes in and like him and Daniel Bryan have finally like their
one-on-one match.
I like to see that. I like to see Edge and AJ Styles. I mean, there's so many things. I wouldn't be surprised if Cesaro got the shot. It might be a situation where Daniel Bryan gets the shot here, and then whatever they decide to do at Backlash.
By the way, they're calling it WrestleMania Backlash.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of that.
I kind of understand where they're going as far as titling that. Like, I know they want to put the brand of WrestleMania on it, but calling it WrestleMania Backlash, where it's like, all right, the things that happened at WrestleMania, this is the backlash that's happening because of it. As much as I understand that,
stupid.
I'm not going to say that it's diminishing the WrestleMania brand at this moment or this point.
Yeah.
But it may, if they use WrestleMania too much.
Right.
WrestleMania Hell in the Cell.
Now, I can understand.
WrestleMania Survivor Series.
Now, I can understand if it was WrestleMania Backlash and it was like a rematch of Drew McIntyre versus Bobby Lashley. And then we got the rematch. It was either Edge versus Roman Reigns or Daniel Bryan versus Roman Reigns.
But that's
or even a rematch of the triple threat from WrestleMania.
That's Raw and SmackDown, like right after WrestleMania.
Right.
It should be like.
But like the
Raw
fact
Backlash, Raw WrestleMania Backlash, SmackDown WrestleMania Backlash.
But it's like, I understand, like, if you had a whole mess of freaking thing, like if all those title changes that you had at WrestleMania could all be rematches at Backlash. Because if you think about it, all those years where the former champion was guaranteed a title shot anytime they want within 30 days, and they had that opportunity, that is when you do it at Backlash. But the fact that you're going to do Bianca Belair versus Bayley for the SmackDown Women's Championship at Backlash, now it shouldn't be called WrestleMania Backlash, because now you have the new SmackDown Women's Champion going up against a woman who didn't even wrestle at WrestleMania. All she kept doing was running around going ding dong hello and wanted to fight Michael Cole. Which, by the way, I would have paid good money to see Bayley versus Michael Cole at WrestleMania.
Better money than Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler.
Oh, God, please don't. We don't talk about that enough as the worst match of WrestleMania history.
Yeah.
Michael Cole should have never gotten into a wrestling ring. Jerry Lawler deserved better for his only appearance in a WrestleMania match.
Right. All right. So other things that happened on SmackDown. We had Apollo Crews defeat the Cupcake Eater of Worlds to retain the IC strap. Commander Aziz ended up getting involved, supplying a distraction for Apollo to get a roll-up. It was the roll-up week, the fruit roll-up week. I remember, I loved those things as a kid, by the way.
Fruit roll-ups, so they were the shit.
They were great. Although sometimes it was hard to get them unstuck.
I'm sure I've eaten enough of the plastic that they were wrapped in. Not the outer plastic, but the plastic that was like kind of like the layered underneath it.
Sure.
I also like Gushers. Those were the shit.
Those were great. So anyway, Commander Aziz helping him out, and the move he uses is the Nigerian nail. He ended up using the Nigerian nail against the Cupcake Eater of Worlds. It ended up going into the Hardy spot of the cupcake and knocking him over. For those not aware, Nigerian nail is basically the Samoan spike that was used. My God. So, I think it's a cool. I always enjoyed the look of the move, and You know, when you get somebody that big, it's like, yeah, if you get a thumb to the side of the throat, that's not going to feel good. So
especially they get you either here or right here. Yeah, that could be it. That's one of those moves that actually could look devastating for what it is.
Right.
Which is at the end of the day, that's what it's all about, having a finishing move.
So obviously Cruz, you know, went retaining the strap and using nefarious tactics to do it. You know, this is exactly what you should do for a heel champion. And no matter what, when you win, even if it's by nefarious tactics, you're like, yeah, I won. Of course I won. Going to win by any means necessary, but I kicked your ass. And, you know, it gets people to be pissed off at you because you're like, oh, you didn't kick his ass. You lost. But won because somebody helped you. But, you know, this is like one of those times where you're like going, yes, this is correct booking for this champion.
Right.
So, and then backstage, we did have Big E attack Apollo Crews. So if this ends up on WrestleMania Backlash as an Intercontinental title match, it does make sense. And
maybe Big E should pick the stipulation this time, like Apollo Crews did for WrestleMania, and it'd be like a pancake match or some shit like that.
Right. Or a popcorn match. Right? One of the greatest gifts of all time.
Or Judy Bagwell on a pole match. Or, I'm sorry, Judy Bagwell on a forklift match.
Right. That's so good.
Terrible.
All right. So we did have the Mysterios defeat the Alpha Academy this week. And this is... I don't love 50-50 booking. I'm kind of into this storyline, but like one week the Alpha Academy looks strong. One week the Mysterios look strong. For me, the highlight, though, was when Dominic did, you know, his dad's baseball slide, but then did a sunset flip power bomb into the outside. Well, I can't say guardrails. It's
barricade.
It looked awesome. And Dominic, because of how tall he is, it doesn't look as cool as when his dad does it. It looks a little awkward. But the fact that he could carry off a move like this without killing himself or his opponent, it's great. I think if the barricade wasn't there, it might have, he would have been able to do it a little more freewheeling and it would have looked a little bit better. But the fact that he could even do this with how tall he is, and it looked freaking great, though.
Yes, agreed.
But I don't like the fact that they're going back and forth with trading victories here. Doesn't get anybody over.
Nope.
All right. So then we had a very interesting vignette. Aleister Black is returning, and I like how he opened the book and told the story, and I like the animation that they had with him telling the story of the dragon and talking about how talking about his father and his father kind of introducing him to the dragon, so to speak. But as his father got older, he became more distant, and Aleister Black realizing that he was now the dragon. I like the idea of this. I can't wait to see how WWE screws up this.
I love the fact that they're turning Aleister Black into the douchebag. That's all I got. They're turning him into the douchebag. He's the guy that basically you see, and he's got the freaking turtleneck sweater on. He's drinking. You know, he's got a keto diet. You know, he drinks tea with his pinky out. He's always complaining about the kids and the skateboards on the sidewalk. He's almost like the bad guy from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. That's the best way to put what Aleister Black is right now. Okay. Now, and I remember seeing this last night, and I remember because, like, you know, Nicole and I were discussing it because she actually had to watch it a couple times to kind of like really digest what they did, and she's a fan of Aleister Black, and she was not overly thrilled with what they've done with his character now because of the fact that he's been gone for so long, and now this is what you give us. And I said, you know what, Nicole, I'm going to take a page out of the Cousin Jay playbook here, and I'm going to say, let it materialize. Don't just hammer something away after the first time you see it And I told her, and I gave her the best example. And it was when they had the whole Bray Wyatt thing when he was coming out as Mr. Rogers. And I know you remember this. That episode after he came out wearing the sweater in the freaking Firefly Funhouse, and I verbally destroyed it throughout the entire episode. And I just remember you going to me and saying, you got to let it develop. You can't have like an immediate opinion on something because you haven't seen where this leads to. Granted, it led to one of the greatest things that WWE has ever had that they've completely, absolutely just destroyed. But the Fiend character is just so phenomenal that like I'm okay with. I mean, as much as I'm against the way that they've been booking him, but
lately, yeah.
Right. So I told her, I said, give it some time. Let's see how it develops. But like you said, I'm just waiting for WWE to screw this one.
You know, that they had a great. Well, they had a pretty good setup, I would say, for Retribution, and then, you know,
they botched it.
They botched it, and right here, they've started, if nothing else, with something interesting that will get you to talk. I think the difference between the Aleister Black that we saw last night and the one we had before, the other one didn't talk so much except for, like, waiting to hear somebody knock to challenge him. He didn't really talk very much. He went out there and, you know, he had really good matches with a whole bunch of people. He got thrown off the top of Titan Tower, came back to life the next day. At least they had him come out of, like, you know, the coffin. But, you know, it made sense and everything. But I'm interested to see where they go. And again, I like the fact that they had, like, this animation that was just interesting, and I don't think they've ever had an animation quite like that. It was way different than the animation that they're using for Alexa and, you know, and for Bray Wyatt right now. It was darker, more sinister, and hopefully is going to lead to something more substantial. Now, is this book that he was reading going to be similar to the Authors of Pain book, where, like, when Paul Ellering had that, when they did that vignette where Paul Ellering was speaking from the book, and I mean, it was fantastic and just gave them another layer of stuff.
Yes.
Now, what are they going to do with this? We shall see. So again, if nothing else, I'm interested to see where they go.
Me too.
So I like that.
I'm just waiting for them to take the ball and run into the center's butt and fumble it.
Yes.
Butt fumble. Get it?
Yeah.
Mark Sanchez.
Yeah.
My favorite play in NFL history. Well, my second favorite play in NFL history. Tony Romo fumbling the field goal in that playoff game against the Seahawks.
It was so good. It felt so good.
Because the Cowboys' demise is better than the Giants' victories.
Right.
Oh, excuse me. I apologize.
All right. And as Brainless One did mention, we are having Bianca Belair versus Bayley at WrestleMania Backlash. I'm fine with having this match. You know, Bayley did, like, her best work as champion for all that time. And more or less, she ended up getting not even lost in the shuffle, thrown out in the shuffle of WrestleMania, despite the fact that she was the one that, in many ways, carried the women's division through the pandemic era of WWE. And she just got a bunch of silly skits during WrestleMania. So her getting an opportunity at the title, I'm okay with this. And this is just going to be another thing to put on Bianca's resume, in my view.
Agreed.
So I'm fine with this.
And they're going to have a hell of a match, too.
And, you know, they could build Bianca up after this saying, hey, she beat the woman who is the SmackDown Women's Champ for, what was it, a year?
I think she's the longest reigning SmackDown Women's Champion.
I believe you are correct. And I think it was a year or over a year or close to that. So, all right. So we did have Cesaro and Daniel Bryan at the end of SmackDown demanding answers from the challenge of Cesaro. And Reigns just said, I'm the one who makes challenges here, and challenged Daniel Bryan, and that match is next week. And Reigns says, you accept this challenge, and I beat you. I don't want to see you around here anymore. Now, it wasn't a definitive, like, you lose, you're out of here. But, with Roman Reigns, with how he's been bossing around Adam Pearce, as long as Roman's champion, Daniel is not going to be on SmackDown. Whether or not he's on NXT or Raw, that's anything. Anything WWE could come up with to have him back, or they could just do like they did with Shane McMahon when he was supposed to never, ever show up on WWE.
Oh, so you're telling me in like 2 months, Daniel Bryan's going to be on Raw Underground?
Yes.
With Dabba-Kato? I mean, Aziz Ansari. I mean,
Commander Aziz. Colonel Aziz.
Colonel Mustafa
General
Ali.
Adnan.
General Adnan. Oh, my God. Colonel de Klerk.
Yeah.
The Botswana Beast.
And yeah, great.
You want to run through NXT real quick?
Yeah, there was, in my view, there was not much of note that happened here, except for we did have Oni Lorcan challenging Kushida for the Cruiserweight Championship, and they had a heck of a match. One of those, again, I love kind of the hard-hitting European style or hard-hitting Japanese style, and these guys beat the holy hell out of each other, put on a great match, and Kushida defended the title. I loved it.
We had another. I want to say we had another segment with The Way. My goodness, what talk about a 180 Johnny Gargano has done character-wise ever since. I want to say it was James E. Cornette said that Johnny Gargano is a great ring performer. He doesn't do anything because he has no character or personality. Ever since then, like, he has just taken off, and this whole new role that Johnny Gargano is doing is fantastic. I have enjoyed watching Johnny Gargano. Hell, Johnny Gargano might be my new favorite person down in NXT because this whole storyline with The Way, with him and his wife and Austin Theory and
Indy Hartwell.
Is just, it is so good.
With Dexter Lumis.
And Bronson Reed and just everything that they're doing. It is just, it's fantastic. I've enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to. Johnny Gargano is doing his best character work of his career. I can't say, I feel like if I said that he wasn't doing his best in-ring work, that would be a slight on him because he's been doing his entire career is his best work in the ring. But like as a character and how he's developed, this is fantastic stuff. I love this Johnny Gargano.
Dexter Lumis had a match. I think he was going against LA Knight.
Oh, he was definitely going up against LA Knight.
And at one point during the match, like, The Way's out there, and he and Indy Hartwell lock eyes for a very long time. That causes enough of a distraction for LA Knight to get the pin, but there was a point where it seemed like Indy and Dexter were about to kiss, and Indy gets pulled away by the rest of The Way, and
it's just amazing to me that the best wrestling we get every single week is now on Tuesday nights. I'm sorry, and it is. NXT is the best wrestling product that any organization can put right now. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's my favorite night of the week. Now, Tuesdays nights are now my favorite night of the week because I get to watch NXT. Nothing against SmackDown because I love watching SmackDowns on Friday night. Monday Night Raw would be fun if it wasn't freaking 37 hours long. And AEW would be more enjoyable if the dirt-faced derper was not the World Heavyweight Champion.
Or if there weren't 87,000 factions.
Yeah, and everybody wasn't in a freaking faction. I am still against the fact that QT Marshall has his own faction. That is the dumbest person to ever run a faction. Because even
Mustafa Ali.
Mustafa Ali's not nearly as bad as freaking QT Marshall. Who the hell is QT Marshall? I have no idea who QT Marshall was before he went and joined the Nightmare Cometh or whatever the hell it was that with the Rhodes family.
The Nightmare Family.
Whatever. It doesn't really matter.
QT
Marshall is the most forgettable person in all of professional wrestling. He just looks like a derp.
All right.
I could go on and on. I can always tell you how I think that everybody looks like and everything.
At the beginning of NXT, though, we did have Cameron Grimes trying to convince Kyle O'Reilly to become business partners with him.
I love that.
And that there was a meme put out there that where Kyle O'Reilly at one point during his promo looked a little bit like Orange Cassidy.
Well, it's because he was wearing the denim. He actually came out too after it and said that I guess a lot of people were questioning my style and everything. He's like, for the record, the T-shirt that I wore, he's like, it was bought by somebody at a thrift store in 2015, and I just been waiting for the perfect opportunity to wear it on television. So I thought last night was the perfect time, and I was like, I love this Kyle O'Reilly guy. I've been a fan of his for a while, but like the more I watch him as he's kind of like developed himself outside of the Undisputed Era, I'm starting to enjoy him a lot more because he was kind of like that quiet, but like he seemed fun type of dude because he'd come out and play the air guitar on the title when he would come out and everything. Hell of a wrestler too.
Sure.
So I enjoy what they're doing with Kyle O'Reilly. This is fantastic. He deserves this opportunity, and I'm glad that he's getting utilized.
And he talked about in his promo, you know, he wants to go after Karrion Kross. I think based off of what we saw from the hospital footage last week on NXT, not this past Tuesday, the one before, that him and Adam Cole aren't done. I think they're just gonna give some time to let that simmer a little bit.
I really wanted to make that my good last week.
It was so good.
Him and Cole going at it like verbally as they're on their way to the hospital is such a. It's just so beautiful, and like I said, NXT is the best product that they have each and every week from any wrestling promotion, and is thoroughly entertaining every single week.
And I can't wait for O'Reilly against Kross.
Same.
So, all right. So we had, and this was hyped up the week before. We had Saray going against Zoe Stark.
Saray was their big acquisition that they made with Japan. She had been stuck over there for a while because obviously with everything going on with COVID, a lot of people weren't able to travel internationally or domestically and everything like that. So she has kind of been stuck in Japan for a while. So this has been a much anticipated debut for Saray.
I think that's how it's pronounced.
Saray. I mean, I really should be like the fat guy from The Butcher and the Blade because I just butcher everything. So I just, fantastic match. And again, this just keeps going on with the fact that I love that Zoe Stark is getting these opportunities to showcase herself. And I know I've said this on previous episodes before, but her and Saray had a fantastic match last night, not last night, on Tuesday. Very entertaining and everything. And, Saray, no surprise, goes over on Zoe Stark.
So there was a lot of respect shown at the end of this match here. But then Toni Storm comes out, and
it took me a minute to realize that was Toni Storm coming out for the attack, just because Toni Storm is starting to look like almost every other blonde in WWE.
So with Toni Storm here, I don't know if this is setting up specifically for a singles match or if it's going to be a tag team match, because Zoe Stark has had some issues with Mercedes Martinez and Toni Storm. And is this going to be Zoe Stark and Saray as a tag team going against the two of them, or is this Saray going against Toni Storm one-on-one? I think that's what we're going to get down the line, but immediate future, this might be a tag team match, playa. But one thing that I'm going to say about NXT that I appreciate what they're doing, because it's a thing that we've kind of railed against WWE for a long time about, is this past week's NXT was spent on people who are not at the top of the card. So you're giving those people who are mid-card or working their way up time on television to develop so the audience knows who the heck you are, so that when they you get that push, they're like going, oh yes, this person went against this person and this person. So as much as it's like, I remember like looking at who was on there, I'm like, oh, there's like a match or so that I'm kind of interested in, but like, this is so they could develop everybody. And it's a good strategy in my view, because the main roster doesn't do it enough. And
I'll tell you right now, the fact that Dexter Lumis and LA Knight fighting on Tuesday was set up from NXT Takeover because they kind of had that exchange
Takeover
during
Backlash.
the Takeover in the Gauntlet match where LA Knight has kind of like was put under by Dexter Lumis, so they kind of built up for that.
Sure.
And it's a way for them to continue on. It gives LA Knight more of an opportunity to be, utilized on TV. It gives Dexter Lumis a different person to work with, but it also can continue on with the whole Dexter Lumis with the Way type of storyline where they can get Bronson Reed in there and LA Knight and whoever else they want to include in that. But I will keep hammering away at this. I love the fact that they keep giving Zoe Stark this opportunity because she is tremendous in the ring. She is very good. I think she's only like 19 or 20, which is kind of shocking that she is as well established and developed as an in-ring performer at such a young age.
Sure. Chris Brown, I would like to see that. DiBiase versus Cameron Grimes partnership or feud. That would be fantastic.
Agreed.
Maybe that way you get DiBiase to actually get kids to not be able to dribble the basketball 10 times. If Ted DiBiase Jr. ever wanted to come back, I think that it would be a fun little opportunity. I don't see it happening, but yeah. Good times. Good times. I think we covered. We did have the Grizzled Young Veterans go over on Nicole's favorite team, Breezango.
Yeah, no, she was very happy to see the Grizzled Young Vets win that match too.
Imperium squashed Everrise.
Shocked. Which means we're either going to be getting the Grizzled Young Vets or Imperium going up against MSK.
Yep.
For the tag team titles. I'm good with the
absolutely.
tag team.
Yeah. All right, so that was basically NXT. We talked about the Io Shirai stuff before, so
you want to go through AEW, the land of the stables, and then real quick.
So there were a lot of things that they have going on specifically with AEW right now. The main thing is in a week and a half they have Blood and Guts match, which is going to be on. It's going to be on free TV. And it's going to be between Pinnacle and the Inner Circle. And basically the Blood and Guts match is actually War Games.
Yes.
I'm glad that if they call it something different, then whatever. Like, I just like seeing matches like this. And
is there a second? If you don't mind.
So right here, so they were doing things hyping this. Jim Ross did an interview with the Pinnacle, and one thing I'm gonna say with this interview that he did, MJF was freaking awesome and hyping the match that they're going to have and talking about how at 25 years old he's already a superstar. He's not just a star at 20, like where he's in a good spot because he's 25. He's like, no, I'm a superstar already. And talked about how Chris Jericho was basically on Worldwide when he was at 25. And he talked about how, the thing with Chris Jericho throughout his career is he's been wrestling for 30 years and he's outsmarted everybody. And that's how he's gotten where he's gotten. Talked about how Chris Jericho has specifically picked people who the audience already loved to get in the ring with him and trying to say that he's the person that got that person up to the next level, and talked about how Jericho with the Inner Circle took a bunch of B-leaguers, so it made him look bigger, and then he would go against the A-leaguers to make himself look better. He's like, oh, he's smart. Yeah, he was smarter than everybody until he met me. And I just thought this was perfect as far as what MJF said, but they did have a bit with Wardlow saying stuff, and Wardlow still needs to work on his promos. He isn't King Corbin bad from like 3 years ago, King Corbin, but he's not good.
No.
And it's a good thing that Wardlow mostly just stands there and looks intimidating. And I liked how MJF talked about how Pinnacle is a bunch of A-leaguers versus Jericho's with a bunch of guys who or clearly beneath him, as MJF put it. I thought it was great promo work.
Agreed. But that's just me with the whole MJF thing. It's amazing to me how the future of professional wrestling looks really good with a young star like him, guys like him and Pete Dunne, who are just like, they're in the right side of 30. I think Pete Dunne's like 27, and MJF is 25, and they have a lot of really good young pieces out there that makes me, as a diehard wrestling fan, feel really good about the future of professional wrestling when you got guys like that are stepping up to the plate. And MJF is, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, MJF is going to be the biggest star in professional wrestling in the next couple of years. I'm sorry.
No, just to put a period at the end of this sentence is MJF said, "Hey, it's going to be my family against your family, and you called me a mark. Yeah, I'm a mark because I am trying to get a spot, and the spot I'm taking is yours. I'm going to come take it from you May 5th at Blood and Guts, and I want to be against you in the ring one-on-one."
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to the Blood and Guts match in a week and a half.
One thing about AEW this week, and sorry to kind of add to that, I'm actually looking forward to that Blood and Guts match in a week and a half too. I think it's going to be tremendous.
And supposedly that's going to be the only live
match
that night.
Yeah.
So I think it's going to be given an extended amount of time.
It'll
I think it might even
long.
take half the show.
Yeah.
So and also AEW ratings wise, once again over 1 million viewers. So not having competition on that night has, as was stated months ago, helped out both NXT and AEW. And I'm glad that fans are tuning in, and it's going to do is allow workers more places to go, and it'll be better for us as fans.
Don't worry, Jay. I will also start going back and watching AEW each and every week a little bit more religiously than I do once that freaking dumb derping derp is no longer the world heavyweight champion.
Now, is it this weekend where Rebellion is in it going against Rich Swann? I think it is.
It is this weekend.
So we're going to find out if he's double champ. And obviously, storyline-wise, he has to win.
Yeah.
He has to win. So we're going to see the derp on AEW with both championships, and maybe we get an invasion of Impact Wrestling trying to get their championship back.
It's funny, too, because like on online, I've been seeing a lot of people posting stuff. Aaron Rift from NoDQ.com basically said that if you follow me and retweet this tweet, and Rich Swann wins the AEW World Championship, I will give you a gift card to any online store that you want. I think it's like $25 or $50, whatever it is. Another guy said, if Rich Swann, everybody who retweets this and Rich Swann wins, I will buy you a KFC. That might have been my favorite one. And I'm like, yo, I want to see Rich Swann win this match in the worst possible way, even though it will just absolutely diminish Impact Wrestling if Kenny Omega wins. I'm sorry.
The only, again, I think the way forward would be you would have to have like Impact now invade AEW for it to like not be like
stupid
egg in the face of everything Impact Wrestling. So we'll see what they do, and Omega's going to win this match, and I'm sure they're going to put on a great match. And
one thing from Wednesday from NXT I really wanted to take away, and it's
AEW.
That's what I'm sorry. AEW on Wednesday that really stood out for me was the Hikaru Shida versus Taynara Conte match. Tay Conte. They used to call her Taynara something or some shit like that. Had a hell of a match on Wednesday for the the AEW Women's Championship. Hikaru Shida is a very, very good in-ring performer, and Tay Conte is one of those people who got overlooked when she was in NXT and is now utilizing her opportunity in AEW, especially because she's taken over the spot, I think, of Allison Kay, who was the one or Anna Jay. No, Anna Jay, I think it is the one who got hurt with the shoulder injury. So Tay Conti's getting that shot and opportunity. She's making the most of it. And her and Sheeta had one hell of a match on Wednesday. Not too long removed from having that Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa match from AEW. And I know that our biggest gripe that we've had with AEW since the beginning was how lousy the women's division was at the time. But with matches like that and the development of some of these women, they are actually starting to develop the women's division a little bit better.
And at the end of this match, after Hikaru Shida won, we had Dr. Britt Baker come out because she was number 2 in the rankings.
Mm-hmm.
And usually they put out the rankings specifically on, I think, Wednesday before Dynamite. So you know what the new rankings are and who should be, moving up or down the card based off wins and losses. But immediately after this loss, they changed the graphic. And Britt Baker is now the number 1 contender for the women's championship.
She can win it too.
And Jim Ross said, well, that was fast. And then this is what I thought.
She said,
like when he said, well, that was fast, I was like, yeah, that's Michael Scott. That's Michael Scott. That's what she said. But, Britt Baker, with the work she's been doing, she deserves this shot. As much as at the beginning when she was a heel, I thought she was terrible. She has finally hit her stride.
Oh, she's developed into one of the biggest stars. And I know that they had a lot of high hopes for her because of the fact that when they did the first ever AEW show, she was in the spotlight of that because she had a pretty big match for that. She's been utilized very well since this whole thing started with AEW. She is she was the biggest name, in my opinion, in the women's division. Obviously, the division has gotten bigger, it's gotten stronger, and it's developing into what I was hoping they were going to do with the women's division in AEW. And I think that Britt Baker versus Hikaru Shida for the title is the right move.
It's going to be on it all out.
And Britt Baker's going to win that title.
Absolutely.
No question about that. That might be my lock of 2021. Especially after my lock of WrestleMania shit the shorts.
My lock didn't.
Yeah?
Yeah. So there was that. We don't need to talk about your boy QT Marshall defeating Billy Gunn.
One thing I will say, Billy Gunn at 57 years of age looks damn good.
He does.
I'm impressed with the fact that Billy Gunn at 57 is going out there and still putting up matches for a guy who's been wrestling for got to be about close to 30 years now, if not at 30 years.
It's over 30.
Yeah, it's got to be over 30 because he was...
Smoking Guns were I think 90, 91, 92 maybe.
I think it might have been 92.
And he was wrestling before that. So
he was part of the show that I was at for WrestleMania when he lost the tag team titles to the GOAT Owen Hart and the GOAT Yokozuna.
Right. All right. So we had Christian going against Powerhouse Hobbs, and Team Taz was banned from ringside. Christian defeated Powerhouse Hobbs. Christian looking pretty good here.
That was a solid match for him, by the way.
So I like Powerhouse Hobbs. I do like Team Taz.
Yeah.
And I hope, honestly, I'm hoping soon that Team Taz will get more victories instead of always eating losses. It's like they look like this intimidating faction, but they always lose. So I think they have to start becoming more dominant.
When they first put that Team Taz together with the three of them with Taz, I thought that Brian Cage was going to be the guy that really stood out, and I became that's the guy I like is Brian Cage. And I like Brian Cage. But Hobbs, man, I'm telling you, the more I watch him, the more I enjoy his work in the ring. And I'm really excited to see where he goes. And I know they have a lot of high expectations for him. And I really hope that they get it right with him and build him up the right way. He has a potential to be a really big star for AEW.
And speaking of Team Taz, we had Hangman Page defeating Ricky Starks via submission.
The pride of Virginia, baby.
Team Taz came out and beat down Hangman Page, only for Page to get saved by the Dark Order.
Yes.
So, and for the most part, that was AEW for this. Oh, not before we move on. Darby Allin and Jungle Boy had a heck of a match. That main evented the show, and Darby Allin goes over on this, and it was absolutely fantastic. But to nobody's surprise, it's like every match like gets interrupted and has somebody come in after the match. Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page attack, only to have Lance Archer and Sting make the save. Lance Archer, they've been all over the place with his character, and like it's clear that they don't know what the heck to do with him. You know, you made a big signing with him, and it was like, we made this big signing so we could have him in a title match almost immediately, and now we don't know what the hell to do with him. It's like, you have Jake Roberts with him, use Jake Roberts and like make this man into the thing that he should be. Like, they made Karrion Kross exactly what he needed to be in NXT right away.
And I was just about to mention that too, because if you think about it, because like Lance Archer in AEW and Karrion Kross in NXT have been kind of on this parallel path together. Granted, Karrion Kross suffered the shoulder injury that he had, where he had to drop the title for a few months and everything. But if you think about it, their careers are on the same path. And like Karrion Kross now being a 2-time NXT champion and is now is just the head of the food chain in NXT. And it's like with Lance Archer, like he's
a bit part.
He's just a bit part, and like his biggest
Robin.
His biggest claim to fame in AEW is the fact that he dressed up like Luke Harper on the Brody Lee Memorial Show at the end of last year. And that's not, I mean, you know, power to him for the respect that he did that. But if that's the thing that you're best known for,
he's a better performer than what he's gotten.
Agreed.
And
a victory over a bunch of jobbers and QT Marshall is not like good enough for me.
Right. But that was AEW for this week, so
I think it's time for the good,
the bad.
Ow!
Sorry,
it's all right.
I hit him with a pen
and the brainless.
Yeah.
So what is your good for this week? Because I'm gonna tell you right now, I had a lot of options. There was one in particular that I probably could do for my good for this week, but I'm not gonna take away the spotlight.
So I'm gonna go with MJF promo on AEW this week. It was fantastic, and everything you know, as a heel, you sit there and you have to latch on to something that is true, or at least true to you, and you need to sell it, and that's what he did, and it was a fantastic promo. The fact that they like Tully Blanchard gifted him a new silk scarf, and it's silk season, and like little crap like that just adds enough of a thing where you're like, yeah, that's so good. But that beat out, sadly, a thing I was thinking of as part of my good was that WWE doing the right thing with Mark Carano. It's like, but I'm glad that MJF was there, so I didn't have to take something that was kind of negative
and turn it into a positive, or try to turn it into a positive.
And it will be hopefully a positive long term for WWE for getting rid of somebody who obviously had a lot of disrespect for what seemed like mostly the women's roster. So, but yeah, my good for this week is MJF and his promo for the Blood and Guts match.
Okay. I like it. I am going to take something that was a negative and turn it into a positive. Now, this is a very, very, very rare occasion where I call a complete audible because something happens, and it's very possible it happens during a podcast, because anything can happen from the time we start this podcast to the time we end this podcast. And that's what I'm going to do this way. And I'm going to make it Chris Jericho is my good for this week, because of the fact that, yes, Steve Mongo McMichael, former WCW superstar and ring announcer, also a former NFL player for the Chicago Bears and Green Bay Packers, announced that he has been diagnosed with ALS, which is Lou Gehrig's disease, which is a very, very...
Basically, he's paralyzed from like shoulders down at this point. Like, he could kind of stand up still, but that's going to be gone from him shortly.
Yeah, and it's only going to be a matter of time before, you know, his untimely demise, you know, and I hate to say it like that, but it's a terrible thing to have happen. Yeah. But the fact that Chris Jericho went out there and has donated money to the cause to help for Steve Mongo McMichael, it was just too good for me to not have that as my good this week.
All right, so Chris Brown saying that the storyline progression with Roman and Bryan on SmackDown. Yeah. So there's that.
Okay.
All right.
So what do you got for your bad?
My bad for this week. It was almost a clean sweep for this Mark Carano thing, and I'm gonna go with my bad this week is the fact that it took 10 years plus of him apparently doing this stuff, or somebody behind the scenes doing the trash bag thing. 2 performers who are let go. That should have never happened to begin with. I'm sure someone somewhere knew about this, and action should have been taken sooner. But I'm just gonna WWE. They did the right thing, you know, when Mickie James put it out there in the public for all to see. And WWE did the right thing by letting go of him immediately. But it shouldn't have been 10 plus years of people dealing with this bull crap.
And the fact that it's happened to Mickie James on 2 separate occasions, too, is not a good look either.
So that is my bad for this week.
I agree. I can't come up with anything better for my bad.
And my brainless is Mark Carano. It's just Mark Carano.
Okay. Mark Carano gets your brainless.
All right. So for Chris Brown, saying his bad is McAfee still seemingly struggling on commentary on SmackDown. I think that'll be a work in progress. I think he'll get there. He likes the product. He's a talker. He'll get there. He and Cole will develop their chemistry. But yeah, right now he's not great.
My bad this week goes to an announcement that WWE made earlier this week. And I know it's going to piss you. I know it pissed you off when you saw it. I know it really upset me when I saw it. Well, the fact is that we've been in the middle of a pandemic, and in the last year plus, we've only had fans in attendance once in the last year plus, and that was at WrestleMania for both nights. And then they went right back to the Thunderdome the next night on Monday Night Raw. But WWE announced this week that they will be having another Super Showdown in Saudi Arabia in 2021.
What? I mean, we had this discussion several weeks ago where I was like, you know what? I can see that they're going to like the Saudi Arabia show is going to happen because there's a lot of money involved there. And, you know, hey, you know, if the world gets vaccinated or enough of the world gets vaccinated and it's safe for them to travel, I mean, they've already proven that they're just going to live out the contract they have with Saudi Arabia and get that blood oil money. And yeah, I'm not going to watch the show. And I'll make some minor commentaries on the show. If we have another Undertaker Goldberg type match, I'll comment on that, but I'm not going to watch it.
If they give us the Iron Sheik versus Hulk Hogan in an actual wrestling match, it would be the only way I would watch a match during the Saudi show. Other than that, I could really give 2 shits, a rat's ass, or a flying fuck about the Saudi Arabia show. So for me, it's my brainless just because they should have never done this in the first place, and they're just and it just shows like all Vince cares about is money.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So whether you are a first-time watcher or somebody who has been a long-standing fan like Chris Brown, make sure
Mark's Hall. Mark's
You're right. I'm sorry. I discounted that. That could be my brainless for next week. The fact that I discounted what Chris Brown,
Mark's Hall of Famer,
Mark's Hall of Famer, Chris
contributor
Brown, and contributor, a very, very, very strong contributor to the F and Marks page. Make sure you like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, follow us on Instagram.
And on Instagram this week, make sure you go there for when the brainless one posts the brackets for the 64 worst gimmicks, and it most likely is going to be WWE specific this time around, but we'll have one with WCW, I'm sure, at some point.
We'll see how the gimmicks go. It might be like what I did with the WrestleMania Moments thing, where I actually Google it and it gives me like a list and just pick from it. But I have an idea in this noggin, like of some good ones, and obviously I'm going to use you and other and a fellow F and Marks Hall of Famer El Jefe will be helping me chime in. Chris Brown gave me some really good ideas. A lot of the other guys,
there things in your noggin? You're brainless.
Well, there's something in there. It ain't just empty air. But
yeah.
But yes, go on to the Instagram, not the like I said. At the F and Marks, and also subscribe to us on YouTube. at the letter T, the letter H, the letter E, the letter F, the letter N, MARKS, the FN Marks. If you like, follow, and subscribe to us, we will do the same back. And as Jay had said, yes, please turn into Instagram. I'm hoping by tomorrow. I mean, that's a lot of fucking pictures I'm going to have to get for this bracket.
Well, I mean, whenever you get to it this week. Yeah. I mean,
my goal is to have it by tomorrow. Worst case scenario will probably be Monday. To have it, because I kind of want to do it so that when the finals happen, we'll have a winner of the worst gimmick so that we could talk about it on next week's show.
Okay. All right. And make sure on the All Elite Marks page you set up notifications so when we go live that you will know when we go live and you could join in with the chat and talk pro wrestling, the good, the bad, the brainless, and everything involved with that.
Yeah. I think that's it.
I think you're right.
Wait. No. Wrong. There happens to be one more thing.
What's that brainless one?
That is because today, on April 24th of 2021, FN Marks Hall of Famer Carano is still alive in the FN Marks. Wow. Can I get a redo on that? Can I just get a? I
mean, I think the end of this show is going to be your complete brainless. We're going to go back. We're going to hit the rewind button here.
Okay, I want a mulligan on that one.
All right, do it again.
That's because today, Jay, on April 24th of 2021, at an astonishing 2,281 days, FN Marks Hall of Famer is still alive in the 2015 Royal Rumble.
Congratulations on Sid Viciousing yourself.
Line! Hey, at least I didn't Kalisto myself and got up and ran out of the fucking podcast.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to this week's episode of the FN Marks podcast.
Episode 219, to be exact.
I'm Jay.
And clearly I am the brainless one. Make sure you mark out.
With your clock out. See you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in.
Woo!
We'll catch you next week. Yeah.